What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. And today's video we're going to be doing brakes on my 2014 Mercedes-Benz E550. So it does have the bigger brakes. It should be the same for like a 350 or maybe like even an S-Class S550 Benz. This should all be the same process, all right? So what I would say for sure for the S550, because it does carry the same brakes. But anyway, so far what I did remove the cap for the reservoir, just so when I push the calipers back, I am not putting pressure on this cap. There's a seal inside that cap. You don't want to bust that seal, and then you start getting, leakage in your brake pressure. I did take a battery terminal off as well, just to be safe, because these cars are finicky, and you don't want to play around with these German cars, man. So, pretty simple setup to do to get yourself set up, and next thing you want to do, get your jack in position, mine as already is, and take your wheel off. So let's get to do that right now. We'll jack the car up, get this wheel off right now. So I am using the power stop brakes, the rotors and pads. These ran me about $350. All right, so for this job, you will need a T30 to loosen the nut on the front of your rotor, which that'll be the first thing I would suggest you just crack it just to make sure you loosen it. You will need like a punch to punch these pins out. You'll need an 18 millimeter, which is, you might need an assorted set of tools. You might need an 18 millimeter socket and a wrench, and I'm using this 5/8 also to give me some leverage. And that'll be it, just minimal tools. And this side, you do have a brake sensor, which is right here. You wanna make sure you loosen that. Just basically just pull it out. We're gonna replace that anyway. It's gonna slide right onto the pad. So first step, loosen my T30. All right, so one more tool you're gonna need for the passenger side only, the side with the sensor, is an E10. You just want to remove this line right here. This is for the brake sensor. So when you take the caliper off, at least you're not stretching this line right here. Well, it's a Y, it's not a line, I'm sorry. So we're gonna just move it out the way right now, just so we're not stretching it once the caliper comes off. All right, so before you take out the caliper bolts on the back, you want to make sure you open up the caliper itself. Being that I'm changing the rotors, I don't care if the screwdriver damages anything by me going in here. So you want to basically pry against that rotor a little bit if you could. Get your screwdriver in there and start to push the pistons back. So you want to push them back. You see the opening up. Getting in the top and bottom. Then you want to do the front part too. Push that back. Same thing here. Once you get the pistons pushed back, then you want to take your punch and you want to hammer out the pins. Top and bottom. Put your finger on it, put a little pressure, and it'll slide out. And then the top one will be free. Now you loosen the two bolts on the back, your 18 millimeters, and get that out. There we go. Once the caliper's free, go ahead and set it to the side. You just pull your pads out. Now you want to get back to the T30 and fully remove that. And your rotor's free. All right, so once you have your new rotor, you want to pay attention to where the T30 goes and align it so the T30 lines up. You can catch it with your hand and then come back with your socket tighten it up. And it'll automatically align the rotor. Give it a nice snug tight, not over tighten, slight snug. Now it's time to put the caliper back. So don't fully tighten it until you have both of them all the way in. Now once you have the pins out, they didn't send new pins. They did send a new bracket, and obviously these are your new pads. You do have grease. You want to make sure you grease the back of the pads. So just line them up in the box. Squeeze a little grease out. Both pads, easy, simple. And then also, I like to grease the pins just a little bit. So I squeeze a little grease onto the pins. So the pins itself, I just rub it on it. No homo. And in the back of the pads, you just take your finger and rub the grease all around it. Make sure it's greased nice. So now that we got the brakes, we're gonna slide them back in. Doesn't matter which way they go because they both have the slot for your brake sensor. Now the bottom one is going to be simple. You just basically push it in. It'll go right in. The top one now is where you're going to have to put some pressure on it to get it to line up. So it's going to have to slide through. See how it slides through right there? And push it and it'll go all the way through. There we go.
Ooh. I was trying to go a little closer.
And then we're gonna use just a hammer, just tap it in. Simple. So at that point now the brakes are in, everything is lined up. You'll see this bracket right here is supposed to slide in a slot on the pins. The pins has a slot for it to sit in. Now I'll just add back the brake sensor itself. Well, the wire harness for the brake sensor. Just thread it in by hand. And you don't want to over tighten this at all because you don't want to break it. So you just want to basically snug it. Simple. Now you got your new brake sensor. Like I said, this slides onto the pad. So it actually goes in the pad. There's a hole on the pad itself for the sensor to go onto. So if you look right here, there's a hole in the pad and this piece right here. Most of you guys know how to do this, right? You put it in the hole, I'm sure. And you just slide it in, it locks in. All right, so that's in. And then you just plug the sensor back. That's that. And that's how you do brakes. So all you do now, you put your wheel back on and that's it. The brake job is complete. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I got the brakes all done. Hopefully you guys are able to do this yourselves as well. So in the end, all you want to do is make sure you put your wheel back on, do all that good stuff, button it all up, get the car back on the floor like I just did, and also go in the car and pump your brakes. Make sure you got brake pressure before you drive the car. So pump the brakes up, and don't forget to put that cap back on. All right, I did put the cap back on mine. And I put my battery back, my battery terminal back on. So make sure you guys do that, follow those steps, and you should be good, man. Anyway, it was a simple job, to be honest, very simple. So I'm just hoping that you guys can do it. I mean, anybody could do brakes, right? Well, that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, man. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.